Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we examine the confrontation between Mortarion and Roboute Guilliman from Godblight by Guy Galey. Armed with the Cauldron of Nurgle, can the Pale King overcome his newly reborn brother? Will Roboute be put to rest again? What did the Emperor say to Roboute when he entered his throne room? Friends, let's find out. Their eyes locked and they fought without thought. Roboute stopped the first attack, using the quillions of the Master of Mankind's sword. Thunder cracked around them from the blow. Mortarion withdrew and stayed clear of Roboute's blade. Roboute blocks two more attacks from Silence, Mortarion's scythe. Roboute counters and breaks the cage of bones on top of Silence. The demons screamed and smoke emerged that ate into the soft seals of his armour and came through the grill he breathed through. And the ultramarine Primarch could taste blood. The armour of fate fought back, and Roboute recovered. As Mortarion tried to shoot with his pistol, Roboute countered with fire from the hand of Dominion, knocking it from his brother's hand. And they fought, blade to blade. Roboute targeted one of the many censers, which are vessels of burning incense, on Mortarion's armour, cutting through the chain that held it. The traitor Primarch jumped back and spread his wings. From above, Mortarion holds out his hand, and a yellow bolt left his palm. Roboute blocked with the sword. The Pale King pushed with the power of the warp. The sword in Roboute's hand grew dim, but the ultramarine Primarch pushed back, and the warp energy curved and exploded. Roboute says, "Where is the warrior who stood before the assembly at Nicaea and denounced all use of the warp?" Mortarion says he saw through their father's lies and flies down to land a blow on the armour of fate. Roboute fires the hand of Dominion into his brother's face, then follows up with the Emperor of Mankind's sword. It was blocked. Mortarion says Roboute cannot win. He sends Roboute prone, and with the words of power corrodes the ammo feeds in the hand, and with a foot he pins the Primarch to the ground. Mortarion removes Roboute's helmet, and his nose and throat burned with the Pale King's gases. And then it ended, with a syringe into the loyal Primarch's neck. Guilliman's veins turned black, and his eyes red as a tide of filth washed through his ailing body. Mortarion keeps away, as the substance would even be toxic to him, but says when he falls, the ultramarine Primarch's soul will go to Nurgle, and then drag all of Ultramar into the warp. Roboute roars in pain, whilst Mortarion says he could join him, and they could bring to the galaxy the endless renewal of death and rebirth. To try and escape his suffering, Roboute escapes into a memory, and Mortarion sees it. It is when the loyal Primarch went to see the Emperor, his father, his gene father. In the throne room, he saw the Emperor's memories from tens of thousands of years. They battered him, and he heard many voices he could not follow, and the Primarch fell before his father's presence, who was both, as the book tells it, in the dust of a corpse king's court, and he was before a resplendent emperor for all the ages. Roboute asked for help, and the terrible thing on the throne saw him and knew him. Many minds reached out. Then one over them all came to speak to him, but he didn't get a clear message. He's called a son, and not a son, a thing, a tool. And then a great will came, and amongst the screams of dying psychers, the Emperor addressed him. My last tool, my last hope. And then Roboute's mind exploded. The old man, overlaid and overlapped, dead and alive, divine and immortal, all judged him. After Roboute is told, the Emperor spoke to him as if they were in deep discussion. When Roboute remembered it, it was different, and he is not sure what was real. Then he was back in the present. Mortarion's plague eating his soul. Roboute should be dead. And Mortarion whispers, impossible. The armour of fate, though corroded, restarted, and Roboute looks up, and Mortarion feels something in the warp, huge and dangerous, something he has not felt for a long time. They both had entered the Garden of Nurgle, and the Pale King set to kill his brother. But Guilliman's eyes were glowing pure white, his body was healing as the armour restored itself. Demons native to the garden screamed, the ground cracked. A pillar of light raised Roboute. The Emperor's sword appears in his hand, as it seems to do in the Master of Mankind, and it burned with the fire of 1,000 suns. Roboute says, he speaks to me. Does he not speak to you? Feeling something, Mortarion asks, Father? In the voice of a little boy. Roboute says, he is the Emperor's avenging son. Roboute speaks, you are a traitor. You have brought low all that could have been, but you are as much a victim as a monster, Mortarion. Perhaps one day you might be saved. Until then, you must go back to the master you chose. And he was yanked towards the black house of the plague god. He went inside and was trapped there. And Roboute looks about the garden and speaks, I am Roboute Guilliman, last loyal son of the Emperor of Terror. It is not your destiny to end today, God of Plague, but know that I am coming for you, and I will find you, and you will burn. The sword of the Emperor is raised high, and the wave of fire immolates Nurgle's garden, with flames hotter than 1,000,000 suns. Roboute says the warp and materium was once in balance, and they will be pushed back. None may match my will, and he ends by addressing Nurgle. I speak for the Emperor of Mankind, and he was then back on Ultramar, Roboute, kneeling, sword buried in the earth. The sword had burnt away the Godblight. He had saved himself and his planet. So, with that epic end, I turn things over to you. What do you think to the fractured mind of the Emperor? He always seems to appear to each person in a way that will allow him to influence them. So now, with his mind broken, this is less focused and scattered, and Roboute says many different versions of him. Do you think he cares about Roboute? And did you enjoy watching Nurgle's garden burn? I know I did. Comment down below, or fear the wrath of the Emperor of Mankind.